We're going to have a little bit of an update now on our cauliflowers that we've been growing over winter. We have some that are planted in the tunnel and that we're just going to have a look at, tidy them up, and yours may be larger than mine depending on what you've been doing and how much light and warmth that your undercover space gets. If you're growing them outside, they may be that little bit smaller as well, and they may have succumbed to more pest damage than mine have. And then we're also going to have a look at some of the ones that we saved back and that are now either ready to be planted outside or ready to be potted up. So first of all, I've got these ones, and these ones were popped into larger soil blocks. So these are definitely large enough and ready now to be planted outside, and that is outside under a net. The net really just gives them that little bit of protection from the wind and the rain and the harsher weather. If we put them out without a net, they may survive. You may find in your area that pigeons cause a lot of issues. They may just get stripped immediately, but it's going to give them a fighting chance. That was the all year round variety, and then I've also got the variety Snowball that are definitely ready to be potted up now. These are smaller than I would want to put them outside, so we're just going to be potting these up into larger pots rather than actually putting them outside yet. But these were all started around the similar size, so I think these were maybe a week after the all year round variety. And they all are at different stages, and it really gives you an indication of the difference of how we plant them, when we plant them, and when they are potted up, of when they are actually going to be large enough to provide us a harvest. So this is what all the cauliflowers are looking like at the moment. So at the back we have the all year round varieties, and then at the front we have the Snowball varieties. Then we got some salads in between and some garlic growing at the back there as well. So the first things that we're going to be doing today is having a look at making sure that we weed around these. We also want to remove these lower leaves that aren't looking quite as healthy and are touching the soil, because that's just going to encourage any damage from pests, particularly slugs. So by tidying them up, it's going to give us just a healthier plant going forward. And then I have these ones here at the end, which you will notice are that little bit more nibbled than the rest. So these have obviously had some pest damage that the others don't seem to be getting. They've all been attacked a bit by the puppy, and we've put up some fencing now to stop him being able to get in. So I'm going to go through and clear out any of these bottom leaves, especially any that are looking unhealthy, and then we will come back and have a quick look at them. So that's what they're looking like now, and I have actually only removed 1 to 3 leaves per plant. We don't want to remove too many and weaken the plant. I feed the soil, so I haven't needed to feed the plants. If you do need to feed your plants, if they're starting to look a little bit yellow, maybe a little bit sad for themselves, then you could put a little bit of bloodfish and bone around them, or you could feed them with something like a nettle feed, a comfrey feed, or a seaweed feed, anything like that. And the next time that we shall be looking at these is when they're starting to produce the curds, ready for the cauliflower heads. So this is the 4 of the cauliflowers that I've got in the soil blocks that are ready to go out, and the one I showed you is slightly yellowing on the leaves, but what I wanted to show you is actually that some of them are really yellowing. Now this is a sign that there's nutritional problems with them, and that they are definitely ready to be potted on. Over winter I don't actually feed these because they're growing so slowly. During the summer I would have fed them, and that would have avoided some of these leaves looking as sad as they do. But at this time of the year we don't want too much nutrients because we don't want it just to encourage it to bolt. Before planting them out, you may need to harden off your plants. I've had them in a polytunnel where there's been wind going through and the doors have been opened. So I'm happy that they've had the fluctuation in temperature and their stems are good and strong and able to withstand any wind and rain that the outside is going to give them. If yours have been that much more protected in a greenhouse where there's maybe no wind that's been able to get in, then just take them outside over the next few days and slowly build up that resistance to the wind. So first of all, you're going to move them into a much more sheltered location, and then you're going to start moving them into a more exposed location, a bit more windy, and then slowly more into full sun as well if they haven't had that. The chances are at this time of the year that we don't usually need to harden off, or if we do, we should be able to do it within a day or two. So these all year round cauliflowers are going around 12 to 18 inches apart from each other, and they are now going in a bed outside. So we want to dig a bit of a hole for them and make sure that we offer support for them if they needed. These are in the net, which is quite a fine net because it's the bed with the onions as well. But a net to keep out the pigeons is probably a must for most people at the very least, and that will just help give it a little bit of protection as well from sort of wind damage and too much rain. So a little bit deeper than it was before. Brassicas want to be really well firmed in, so really push it down around them as well. Then Shell on Earth have very kindly sent me some of these shells to try as well, which I'm going to use today around the plant in order to try to avoid having any issues with the slugs. And you've got this little pot to help you pop it on as well. While I'm not suggesting that slugs and snails will completely avoid these plants, they're not going to like to travel over this ring of protection that we're putting around. They can obviously still come up in the centre, but hopefully it's just going to give us that little bit of extra protection that we wouldn't have otherwise. I'm going to go a little bit wider here, just around this leaf, because this leaf is quite near to the ground. That's them done. So as well as these shells, actually they sell some beautiful products like flasks and soaps and things like that, so great for gifts as well. And these come entirely plastic free, which is something that I really love to see a company doing. These beds have actually been fed with homemade compost, so I'm not adding anything to the hole. If yours haven't been fed or you think they're not very good for them, then adding a little bit of bloodfish and bone could be a great option. If you've seen a lot of my other videos, then you may have already heard that I don't use slug pellets, and you can check out the video where I talk about the organic slug pellets and why I won't use them. I'll put the link in the caption for that one. But it's a really good idea to use products like this. The slugs and snails aren't going to like the abrasive surface that they have to travel over, and they'll hopefully just choose other plants and go elsewhere. It's not foolproof, but I'm not willing to spray, and I'm not yet willing to use products that are going to damage other species. These are all very well firmed, and we want to make sure that the brassicas don't rock. As they get bigger, we may need to add a cane in order to make sure that they're not going to rock in any wind. So keep an eye on them, keep them netted, and hopefully you'll have some cauliflowers very soon. All the three that I have to pot on today are all the snowball variety. You can see there's some yellowing on these ones as well, so they definitely need some more nutrients. So these are going to go into larger pots. They are larger than I would necessarily want, but that's the ones I have available to me at the moment. The other ones are being used. So just going to pop some compost in the bottom. Ooh, got a little bug just crawled out of there. That's what the roots are looking like at the moment. So I could have fed them if I wanted to, and they would have been fine, but this will definitely give them a better chance by potting them on. And then what we can do is also pot them on that little bit deeper. So when we plant them out, we want to plant them out and bury a lot of the stem. So I'm going to remove 2 of these lower leaves, and then we're going to fill the compost back up to cover them. We don't need any sieved soil or anything like that for these. Any compost will be absolutely fine, and the larger pieces will give the roots something to cling onto. And I'm just going to write on these what they are, and they're going to get watered before they are just allowed to grow on for the next maybe 4 weeks before we'd actually look at planting those out. If yours are a little bit pot bound, then just loosen up those roots a little bit just to help them to spread out that little bit. While we wait for these cauliflowers to mature, and hopefully that will be reasonably quickly, the growth at this time of the year is really going to start getting much faster. The next thing we can do is start sowing our next batch of cauliflowers. You do want to be aware of what variety of cauliflowers you are growing and make sure they are suitable to be sown at this time of the year. The snowball variety wants to be in really by the end of February, so if you're using those, get them in as soon as possible. And the all year round variety are that little bit more forgiving, and actually they will be great to sow at different times of the year, so you've got quite a bit of flexibility with them. When we do think about growing cauliflowers at this time of the year, the speed at which they're going to grow is exponentially faster than what our ones over winter have been growing. So we want around a 6 to 8 week growth from seedlings to planting them out. You can of course wait that little bit longer and plant them out when they're a little bit more mature if you're worried about slugs and snails and things attacking them. They don't want to be sown inside the house and kept inside the house. You can germinate them inside the house, but then you want to take them out to a cold greenhouse or polytunnel